Peace, everyone. You are welcome to this year's Adventures Live Festival themed Transformational Adventures, Sex, Power, and Magic. My name is Ria Boss, also known as the Cat Mama, and I will be taking you through a workshop called Tantric Sex and Breathwork, a tool to heighten your sexual pleasure. Now, before we get into this presentation, I would like you all to be seated very comfortably. Burn a candle if you must, burn some incense, maybe play your favorite song on like a little, soothing melody, volume, and get ready for our amazing workshop. Now, typically, if we were in person, this would be the moment where I ask us to go around the room and ask everyone to introduce themselves. And the reason I do that is because when we talk about intimate parts of ourselves, or when we talk about things like sex, it's really important for everyone to feel comfortable and familiar with one another, especially if we want them to share. And so in this moment, I'll go ahead and introduce myself to you all and let you know a little bit more about me and about the topic that we're about to delve into today. So my name is Ria Boss, also known as the Cat Mama, like you all know, meow. I am a singer, songwriter, and performer here in Accra, Ghana. I'm also the creative lead and one of the creative leads and workshop facilitators for the initiative Black Girls Glow, which was founded by Poetra Sensual. I'm also a Black Girls Glow alumni. But apart from that, I do enjoy mentoring young musicians and also drinking lots of tea. But back to the subject at hand, I became quite interested not just in Tantric sex, but Buddhism about 5 years ago while I was living in New York City. I had a course and I ventured into this place called the Village Zendo, which was in the middle of Soho. And that was one of the places where I started to find my spiritual path, or what was going to work for me. And so that introduced me to Mahayana Buddhism, which we will get into a little bit into this presentation. But it was through that journey that I found my interest of Tantra and Tantric sex, and this idea of being able to find a sort of sexual awakening through being very intimate and being intentional about how we find our pleasure. So, we're about to talk about sex. We're going to talk about being intimate. And one of the things I want to sort of really touch upon is body positivity. All bodies deserve and desire pleasure. All bodies are beautiful and made in the perfect image that they were made in. And so I want us all to try to let go of the idea of what sex might look like for us, or what bodies should look like having sex, and just focus on the topic at hand, which is pleasure, and also love on yourself in this moment. So when I say body positive moment, I just want you all to sort of like check into yourselves, check into your body. I hope you feel good. Remember, like I said in the beginning, you better be burning some incense or a candle, but make sure that you're accessing yourself right now and feeling good about the body and the vessel that you reside in. So, before we go into it, I'm going to talk about our energy centers that are in our body. Now these are called chakras. Now, of our chakras, we have our crown, our third eye, our throat, our heart, our solar plexus, our sacrum, and our root. Now, the energy in our body is referred to as kundalini. And when we go into talking about Tantra a little bit more, you will learn that in order to achieve this extreme nirvana and awakening through Tantric sex, it means that you are awakening your kundalini. And so you're letting this snake rise from your root all the way up to your crown. So, what is Tantra? No, it is not that club that is now Ace Tantra in Osu. Tantra refers to the ancient practices and customs of Hinduism and Buddhism. It refers to the esoteric texts which arose in different Hindu lineages, beginning in the 5th century, also Buddhist, by the way. What Tantra does is it pairs philosophy with practice, and all reality can be used to access the divine. So in essence, Tantra is a practice that cultivates awareness of our oneness with existence through sexual awakening. Now, I will note that in Tantra, men and women are to honor each other and treat their genitals as sacred. The penis is a lingam, the Sanskrit for sacred wand, and the vulva is the yoni, or the sacred palace. And the sexual energy that is generated between man and woman is to be harnessed, not expelled in the form of ejaculation. but taking both inward for cosmic bliss. Now, what is sex? Sex can be referring to our sexual activity, sexual intercourse, which can be oral sex, anal or vaginal sex, which is penetration. We can be referring to being male, female, or non-binary. But what is tantric sex? Now, when we speak of tantric sex, it's really very poetic. You can think of it as the weaving and expansion of energy during sex to help increase our intimacy and create a mind-body connection that can lead to heightened and lengthened orgasms. And so really it's about accessing your mind, being completely aware of your body, of your genitals, and being able to sort of tap into this connectivity that's happening between you and your partner. It involves you to be it requires you to be extremely vulnerable. It requires you to not judge yourself in those moments, because I know that there's many times, even when we are being intimate with others, we tend to be somewhat self-conscious. This is asking you to let go of all that you're insecure about, especially when you're being intimate. It is really asking you to shed all of that and to become absolutely aware of where you are in that body, in that time, and be focused on this shared pleasure that you're trying to gain with your partner or by yourself, because pro-masturbation. But the idea of tantric sex is to be able to use this pleasure to be able to achieve enlightenment, or to be able to manifest particular things in your existence by harnessing that power. And so a lot of people might say that when you ejaculate, you're letting out a particular power, but when you're able to harness that power within your body or absorb it, you're actually giving yourself a type of nirvana or a boost. And so it's harnessing sexual power, but it's not just sexual, but it's spiritual. Now, to be aware, to be able to free your mind in that way with a partner, I also believe that it's important for you to be honest about your sexual histories. Be honest about what you are comfortable with, what you are not comfortable with. Be honest about what you desire. I think those things are really important, because if you are trying to have a particularly sacred session, then it's important for you to also be honest about what your body requires and needs and how you will be able to achieve that together. A lot of the times I think we shy away from maybe sharing our desires because we are afraid, again, of what I mentioned before, that judgment or our insecurity. But in Tantra, it's important for you to be able to let those things go, and in such be able to have honest and earnest conversations with your partner. It requires you to have amazing communication skills, because I believe, and it's my opinion, that when you're being intimate with someone and you perhaps see a long-term, I don't want to use the word entanglement, but a long-term relationship or union or partnership or sexual partnership with that individual, it is so important for you to be honest about, again, what you desire.
1, go.
How do you all feel after your meditation? Do you feel lighter? Do you feel as though you're a bit calmer? Maybe a bit more relaxed? What if you did this every time you and your partner were going into something intimate? You took a moment to just breathe. Now this would be the time during our workshop where I would ask us all to pair up and do something really interesting. It would involve you and your partner or your friend sitting by you to take a leap of faith with me. I would ask that you face each other, look into each other's eyes, and meditate while looking at each other for 5 minutes. Now, in typical presentation times, I've had people feel extremely uncomfortable because they haven't had that time to fully actually look at another person in silence and focus on them, because we're always moving so quickly. Now, when you think of that, you might think to yourself, well, how come a lot of my sexual encounters seem to be just like that? Rushed, not really connecting. Because we're not actually connecting. We're not actually taking our time to breathe. We're not taking our time to access one another in a very intimate and vulnerable way. And so I'm going to be sending some worksheets through to Adventures Live so that all of you that are taking part in this workshop can have access to this paired meditation sheet and Tantric Sex worksheets such that you can practice these at home. Because as much as I can explain to you how Tantric Sex is actually something I like to call meditative sex, it's easier practiced than spoken. I am in no way, shape, or form an expert on this, but rather someone that has found that this works for me and has helped me become a more thoughtful and compassionate lover and partner, but also it has allowed for me to be able to access parts of myself and pleasure that I may not have been able to because my mind was always moving so quickly. So in this moment, I'll ask you all, when you're with your partner or even with a friend or, you know, fuck buddy, it don't matter, you can easily take the time to really meditate with one another prior to your intimacy, or even meditate as foreplay into your intimacy. And I would ask you all to let me know how that actually works for you, whether you did achieve powerful orgasm. You'd like to thank Cat Mama for that. It has been an absolute pleasure to be able to just sort of give you a beginner's guide into Tantric Sex and also some breath work. I ask all of you to take some time to breathe. Take some time to become more aware of yourselves and your bodies and access those parts of yourselves that you might not necessarily access. I would ask that the next time you pleasure yourself, you access what part of me feels good. What part of me feels good and why? Is this what I truly desire? And then I would also ask that you have these conversations with each other, with those that you're being intimate with. Because I think that that really is what Tantric Sex is. And I would also ask that you practice breath work and that you meditate, or try to at least, or just try to find some stillness in your day where you're not thinking about anything at all. And that might seem like something quite easy, but it's actually quite hard. Because when we try to still our thoughts, that's when all the thoughts seem to try to come to the forefront. But I'll ask you all to take these tools or these keys that I have found to be very beneficial in my own experience, and see whether or not they work for you. This is a way of deepening your relationship to your pleasure. It is a way of deepening your relationship to yourself. And it's a way of deepening your connection to the greater universe at hand. Because really we are all connected. There is this oneness of divinity that connects us all. And through Tantric Sex and being able to be a bit more intentional and spiritual about how we engage in pleasure, we might be able to manifest all the dreams that are locked up here. And so I want to thank Adventures Live for having me yet again, be a part of their amazing, amazing, amazing festival. And I ask all of you to please take this workshop home, look it over, tell your friends. But you can follow me at the Ria Boss on Instagram, at Ria Boss with 2 underscores after the name on Twitter. And if you have any questions, if you have any comments, if you would also like to teach me something that I may not have shared or I may not have brushed over, please, please, please shoot me a message. I'm always happy to connect and always happy to learn something new as well. So, namaste.